What's going on, guys? Today we are painting the moon from Majora's Mask, and this is the moon that is threatening to crash down onto Clock Town. And we're basing the color scheme off of the one from the 3DS because this looks more similar to the 3DS version because of the defined graphics. The original from the 64, everything was really sharp, the nose was smaller, 64 graphics. But I printed this one, so we're going to go with that color scheme. And it's got a hook in the back here, and I'm going to hang it from my son's ceiling in his room. He's a big Zelda fan. Hopefully it doesn't give him too many nightmares. But basically, you can see here in this picture I have up on my phone here, that is basically what we're going for. Just a gray, a medium gray over the body of the moon. We'll coat the eyes in red and then go back with yellow and then black for the pupils. And the way this printed, it printed this way up in two pieces. I'll put a picture here. And but basically the way it printed, it made a nice mark for where the pupils should be already. I don't know if you'll be able to see that on the video or not. But we're going to be doing a technique, and this is a kind of tutorial video, if you will, of how I dry brush and paint figurines. A lot of techniques I use in this, I use in a lot of things like my Warhammer figurines, other 3D prints. But anyways, we're starting out with, let's see here, what are the names here? We got medium gray from Folk Art for the main body. For the teeth, we have, let's see, country gray from Apple Barrel. For the eyes, we have lemon from Apple Barrel, and we have bright red from Apple Barrel. So all of these paints over here you see in my background that are in my little paint holder here are from Apple Barrel or Folk Art. Their acrylic paints are awesome. They offer like mattes, glosses, multi-surface paints, cool stuff like the enamels, the silver. That looks really awesome. I mean, it makes your projects look like they're made out of like metallic silver. And they also offer the gold that I use a lot of in projects. Just really cool paints. And this here is what I normally coat my 3D prints in. And you can see the picture shows it takes away the layer marks and the weird texture and makes it smooth. That's what I'm referring to in some of my videos when I say XTC. It's just a simple coating you put on before you start painting. Now all I've done with this so far is I've put 2 layers of semi-gloss spray paint, black, on this, and it covered up like most of the lines. You can still see some on the teeth here and the eyes, but I'm fine with that. It's not something I was going to get hyper detailed with. So we'll move on to what brush is that I use, that I'm going to use for some dry brushing here, and how the dry brushing works for things like this. Okay, so basically with dry brushing, it really don't matter what brush you're using as long as it's like flat and it's a decent size for the project that you're using that's going to cover a decent amount of space so you don't have to spend all day on a little tiny brush. But basically you get the ends of the brush dotted in there, and then on another surface that's dry you wipe off most of it, which I'm just using the rest of this paint palette right here until it really doesn't look like there's a whole lot of paint on it left, and then you come through and you hit the high spots. Now when you're doing this, you don't want to cram it into the crevices. because as you can see, it's leaving some of the holes a darker color. It's leaving them black, or sometimes it kind of skates down in there and makes it like gray. So this dry brushing method will last a while before you have to do it again on the brush. We're going to leave the insides of the eyes alone because they are supposed to be black. So, and then when you reload your brush, you don't have to go back in the puddle of paint. You can reload it with some of the wipe off from earlier, and it just refreshes it for another little bit there. I might actually go a shade lighter than this because this is looking like it's going to be too dark. So let me try some of this mixed in here. This is the country gray. Wipe off most of it there. Okay, that's more or less what we're looking for. So it actually does look nice with both grays on there. It's kind of giving it a depth. So I might go ahead and just put the gray on the rest of it. The darker gray on the rest before I continue with the lighter gray. But you can kind of get the idea. It's leaving the black holes and the shadows in there pretty well, and keeping a lot of that detail. I'm getting some Freddy Krueger vibes off of this thing. Looks kind of like melted flesh or something. Alright, so I'm going to go back with some of this dark. And where we're messing with grays, I'm not too worried about color mixing here. I just was going to get it a little darker and put some more on, and we'll go back for the light stuff in a second. When you first start, you want to be careful because your brush is loaded heavily. So you want to just kind of lightly glance the top. I can repaint that hook black in a moment. And then once your brush starts getting a little drier, you can start hitting it a little bit harder to get the paint to come off of the brush. So I think that color is pretty good for the main part of the moon, and we can come back with lighter paint and do highlights on the high spots to make it look even cooler. So I'm going to do this all over the whole moon, and then we'll come back when we're doing the highlights. Okay, so what I'm going to do now is I've got the lighter gray loaded onto the brush. I'm just going to hit very lightly, kind of like dabbling, and just try to get the high spots so it has a little more detail and contrast going on, like the cheekbones around the eyes, where the laugh lines are. Okay, and I'm pretty satisfied with that color for our moon. And I've got some lighter areas here and there to make it look more textured. Alright, so I think we're going to move to the teeth. And for the teeth, we're going to come in with a smaller brush and fill it in. We're not going to do the dry brush method for the teeth. Alright, for the teeth, we are going to use some of the country gray, and we're going to mix a touch of yellow in with it. So we end up with kind of a grimy, grayish yellow color. But not so much on the yellow side that you can actually tell it's yellow, just enough to kind of tinge it up a little bit. Let's see how that's looking. There we go. It looks like a moon tooth to me. Now we're going to paint all of this that color first, and then go back and put in some gums, because there are some gums visible on the picture. And if you mess up and you get some of this on your previous work, you can go back and touch it up with the previous colors later. It's no big deal. So there's the top. The gum is not visible on the bottom, so we won't have to worry about that. Okay, we're going to probably put another coat on the teeth after that dries, but that's the idea. So as that's drying, we're going to go ahead and put the red layer on the eyes. Okay guys, sorry for the noise, we had to kick the AC on, but we're going to go ahead with our bright red and just straight up start applying it pretty thickly on the eye, starting from the center. Now on this part we want to be kind of careful and not let it spill off of the eyeball itself, because we'll just create double the work for ourselves. So you have to cover it up with more black later. Okay, so that's what the first coat's going to look like. It's going to need probably another coat. Then we'll do the other eye. Whoops. Have to go back and cover some of this up with black. Okay, so we'll let those dry and we'll go in and put another coat on the teeth and another coat on the eyes before we move on to the yellow. Okay, so we're going to go back and coat the teeth again. Get that same color we were using. If you guys have a heat gun, you can really make this stuff dry quickly and get on with your work. It works like a charm. Just be super careful not to melt your project because it's pretty easy to do. I think this coat is it because I don't want them to look too flawless because, you know, they're just these big nasty teeth sticking out. Okay. There's his pearly white shiners. So now we're going to wash our brush out and go back to the bright red and put another coat on the eyes. You can see how the red really dulls down when it dries and needs brightened back up with some more coats. But unless you have gloss paint, which would have been a nice touch in this case, but unless you have gloss paint, it's going to lose that wet shine after it dries. It's going to look more dull. So that might be it for the red, and I just got a little bit there, whoops. But we'll let this dry, and then I'll maybe put in a gum line with some darker gray, and then we'll go on to the yellow. If you guys are wondering what brushes I'm using, they're a brush set from Amazon I got for miniature painting and stuff. They're called Virtuoso. But to be honest, I just grabbed the cheapest paint brushes. As long as they're the right sizes I need, I'm not too picky with them. But we've mixed together a color here from the grays and using a little red to highlight the gums because upon closer inspection of the pictures we could find, it looks like it's a little bit pinkish on the gum line. So I'm not going to make the gums come all the way down between every tooth because it would look kind of strange. But I'm just going to start out with a line at the top and then we can come down with the peaks of the gums in a moment. So something like that that's not super obvious. Okay, and then we'll come down with some peaks between the teeth. Like so. If you get some out of line, you can go back with the previous color and fix it. You could actually be using a slightly smaller brush than this for this part. Make the peaks a little longer, I think they would look better. So we can let that dry and then go back and fix the mistakes there. There's a part here I didn't fill in. Got a little bit on the tooth there, but we can fix that in a moment. Alright, so while we're waiting on that part to dry, we'll go up and hit the eyes with the inner yellow circle. So I've switched to this brush. It's by Golden. It has a triangular grip that allows for a lot more control. So I really like these for like miniature painting and stuff. So we're going to need a little more control with this inner yellow circle in the eyes. So we'll start in the middle and just have the same distance all the way around of red showing. So more of the red will be showing over here because the eyes are looking forward. So the color of the eye needs to be centered around where the pupil is going to be. Okay, so that's one coat on that one. Alright, so that's the first coat of yellow on there, and we'll get that dry and come back and we'll fix some of the teeth problems and we'll put another coat of yellow on. Okay, we're going to fix this tooth problem here. A little bit of paint. Make it go away. There we go. And then any other problems in the teeth? I don't think so. None that catch my eye. So we're just going to leave that the way it is. We're going to get another coat of yellow on the eyes. With our controlled kind of brush here. This may take even a third coat. We'll have to see. Now I'm not, if you notice, I'm not coating the edge, and that is to give the illusion that it fades into the red, almost like a sunburst effect. If you'll come back just a little bit with your second coat, that means it will continue to get darker and darker as it goes in, and it'll just make it have like a natural fade when you're finished. Okay, so it's already looking pretty haunting. We're going to let that dry and see where we're at as far as putting a third coat of yellow on. Okay, so we're going to take some of this darker gray here and brush off a little bit off of our brush and fix some of these problem areas that we touched with the tooth color earlier. Just to get rid of that purplish color out of there, and that looks a lot more natural. So we're going to put a third coat in the inner circle of the eyes, just around where the pupil is not going to cover. So like this circle right here, and the rest will be just kind of faded into the red, just to give it a little brighter pop towards the middle. Okay, we'll let that dry and then we'll put the pupils in. Okay, we got some black from Apple Barrel, and we're using that to cover up the mistake up here by the eye. we're going to blacken the nose holes up because we lightened them up too much with the dry brush, and we're going to do the pupils with them. So first we'll take care of that little mistake up here with the red, and then some of these little mistakes around the outside of the eye. Okay, that's good enough for me. So let's darken up the nostrils. There we go. Look at that. Now I will go back and dry brush some certain areas here that I'm seeing, like right here where the nose hole ends, and go and cover that with some gray because I got some black and it looked a little too dark. Okay, so let me clean off my brush. And we'll do the pupils. So the way I'm going to do this is I submerge the brush into the paint to where it has a good driplet on the end, and I go right in the middle and just kind of swirl the brush and he has little beady eyes, so they're not much bigger than this. And then we'll go back and submerge our brush again and do the same method over here. Like I said, the way this printed made a pretty good pattern for where the middle of the eye was. But you want to be very careful when you're doing pupils because you can make your project look cross-eyed pretty easily. Okay, so that is a little bit different. So we have to match them for it to look right. Let's see, we'll round the bottom of this out and make it a little bit bigger. I think they are a little bit too small. Make it as round as we can. Okay. And then we'll go back and match the other pupil the best we can with that one. Okay, so I think that's a pretty good look. I think this bottom needs rounded out a little more. It's the tedious parts like this that take the longest with trying to get things like eyes and symmetry to match up. Okay, we need a little more size on this side. Alright, so I'm pretty happy with that. Let me look a little bit here. I think this side needs to come out a little more to match the other one. Okay, this one needs rounded in a little. And it's just kind of like a back and forth thing until you get something you can live with. Okay, so I like that, and I'll have to touch this up with some yellow, so let's let that dry and touch it up a little bit around the borders with some yellow, which will also give it a pop right around the pupils. Okay, so I think we've got it, so we just need to blacken the hook and I think we're finished. Alright guys, so that is the moon from Majora's Mask. And this was kind of a painting tutorial kind of video. If you guys like the style of this video, let me know in the comments and I can do a lot more of these. Alright guys, appreciate you watching this video. This was just a real quick painting tutorial video. I realize in most of my 3D printing projects I've left off the parts where the print is actually printing from the 3D printer, and the software side of things I can include all of that if you guys would prefer. I just didn't know if you guys would think that was boring or not. But I'll try to experiment and maybe include some of that in the next 3D printing project on the channel. But I've got several projects going right now. I know the Infinity Gauntlet I'll probably be doing another one of these quick little painting videos about. But the next video I'll be posting is not going to be like a new video. It's going to be a video of an old axe restoration. I had the video on the channel and it had some music in the background, so I have to edit the music out and repost it. I'm trying to stick to an upload schedule of every Saturday morning as long as I can. That's the plan anyways. But thanks for your guys' support. I appreciate you watching, and I'll catch you next time. Okay, so we've got some black from